Oh, I accidentally hit the button. Welcome to another. I didn't mean to go live at that point, but here we are. Welcome to another
super
live hangout.
professional. We're
You,
the most professional, Dr.
I know,
Dan.
I know. It's anywho. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another live hangout here at Voice Essentials. You would think after all this time I could at least hit the button at the right moment, but there you go. It has, of course, been a couple of, 3 weeks, I think, since we've seen each other. I have been away in Canada, on the other side of the planet to where I am currently, Brisbane, Australia, at the International Congress of Voice Teachers. That's what we're going to be discussing today with my very good friend, Dr. Shannon Coates. We'll bring her on in a moment. You could hear her having a good chuckle at me just then. I had such a good time. I really did, and because it won't be a part of our discussion today, I want to tell you about probably the key highlight for me during the time I was OS was I got to meet in person a couple of you. I got to meet Kathy Snyder, who we all know, for those of us who regularly are a part of the Facebook community group. Kathy is probably the most active on the Facebook group and moderates there as well. So I got to meet Kathy, and I got to meet Amelie, who from now on will be forever referred to as Amelia, even just because I keep calling her Amelia, and her partner Frederick. And it was such a joy to spend time with them. In a funny kind of way, it was in spending time with both of those gals, because Amelie is my private student and known to many of you again on the Facebook group and occasionally here in the live chat as a part of the live show. It was in meeting both of those ladies in person, two women who I feel I already knew. I felt like I was meeting you all in an uncanny kind of way. It was putting, human flesh to the community, and it was such a thrill to think that, when I started Voice Essentials and I didn't know what online communities were and all of those things, to think that here I am in Canada, this Aussie bloke from down under, meeting people who I have come to know and respect and love in person was a real thrill, and so that was cool. And I was able to give them both a jar of Vegemite, which Emily took a video of her first ever eating Vegemite to send to me. Oh, she used so much. It was so funny because it will make your face implode if you use too much, and she did. But anyway, that was funny. And we had frog's legs. I got to eat frog's legs for the first time because Amelie had remembered that Amelie is French Canadian. Amelie had remembered that I had not ever had frog's legs, so she took us to a Parisian restaurant, and then she organised for us to go up into the CN Towers revolving restaurant. It was an awesome time. Friday night that was. I have put some photos onto the Facebook group of not just of my time with those great people, but also some other shots of me at Niagara Falls and Little Canada, which was a real find. So anyway, you can jump over and have a look at those. But today, what I want to do is I want to talk through the other reason I went to Canada, which was the International Congress of Voice Teachers. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, perhaps for the first time ever, and for the first time in a little while, I went to the Congress not just to go to the conference, but to also present at the conference, and that went well. But while I was at the conference, in fact, let's bring her on now, because that would be kind of cool to do. Hey. My good friend Shannon, well, I think, when did we first meet in person? It was Brisbane, wasn't it?
Is Brisbane.
When you were here in 2013, so 12 years ago.
Yeah.
I should, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Shannon Coates. For those of you who have been watching the show for quite some time, you know Shannon, because Shannon, do you know what, Shannon? I think you are the most repeat person on the show. I think that is the case. Linda will tell me if that's not true. If you're not, you're definitely in the top 3. What does that tell you about what I think of you, Shannon?
I love everything that says.
And so we caught up at the conference, and we kicked off with, from memory, hugs at the registration desk, and it was so good to see you. We didn't get to spend as much time together as I would have liked, but we were in, I forget what talk we were in. We're watching a presentation. At the end, during the talk, I went, because I knew that you and I were going to be hanging out in today's show, and I had this brainwave of, I would have liked to have done a show about reflecting and reviewing ICVT. Why don't Shannon and I do it together? And you went, that's what I was thinking. It was meant to be. It was meant to be.
I agree.
It was a good week, right? There was some really good learning. Can we, because I kind of want to talk about what were your highlights, and I can talk about what were my highlights and our key takeaways. Can we talk about, though, and kind of at the very start of the whole conference, which was the performances. I don't think I've ever been, well, certainly I don't recall an ICVT being kicked off with such great singing.
Oh, I'm so thrilled to hear that. That's fantastic.
The pop, I mean, obviously, for you and I would just, Pop Nation were out.
Shout out to Amanda Kind.
Just so good. And the interesting thing about there, because it finished, they did a medley. Just very quickly explain what Pop Nation are for us.
Yeah, great question. So Pop Nation is an organization now, and I think you can just Google them, that she has, I don't even know how many levels now, a bunch of different levels that essentially do like Glee.
Yeah.
And she arranges she arranges the tunes, she arranges the dance, like she's got to start selling them because they're phenomenal. She has all of these massive shows. So, and she puts on, Pop Nation puts on, I don't even know, it might be like 6 to 10 concerts per year amongst the various groups.
Right.
That are just these massive 2 hours of what you saw at ICVT.
Yeah.
Groups of 30 to 60 people. She has one group there where like it's the adult group where like whole families go.
Right. Wow.
And they're all participating together. They're learning song and dance together. They're learning harmonies. It is really fabulous what she does. When she franchises out, man, I'm going to be like, hey, give me that action. So good.
She was like, it was outstanding. Like, and it finished with, because they did a medley, and it finished with three young men singing Hallelujah.
Oh my gosh.
And I've tried to convey to people about the second voice. I he was I later learned he's 19. I mean, wow. It was just wow. Like what is going on there?
Yeah, phenomenal. Well, and also that arrangement. Like, I don't know when I've heard an arrangement I liked so much that was
Yes.
so compelling
Yes.
of
Yeah.
that particular piece. I mean, it's done overdone, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I think
such a
I
compelling
think we have
arrangement. I
to
mean,
with that thought I have to I can't help but remember KD Lang's take on it. I
of
think
course,
it's pretty special, but
of course,
the stand I
iconic,
just couldn't get over, and they were all exceptional singers. They were all so good,
wonderful,
but there was just
wonderful.
something special about the second young fellow. But to kick off, it's funny, isn't it? We often go to these singing conferences, learn to sing conferences, and there often isn't a lot of singing done, which is a kind of a weird thing. But no, it just really set the tone, I thought, for the
Yeah.
entire the entire week. And yeah, so it was that was really good. What was your takeaway from the opening? Because
I mean,
I could see you from where I was sitting.
oh,
I
yeah,
I was you look
I
like
enjoyed
a
it.
proud mother hen, like go
Yes.
Canada, like
A little bit go Canada. And
yeah,
also, I mean, these are friends and colleagues,
yeah,
These
yeah,
are the folks who are performing and who are, I mean, yeah, it's really wonderful to
yeah,
just see the magic, see the quality as well.
yeah,
Marion Newman's, she's an Indigenous opera singer,
yes,
and that setting. Oh, now I've forgotten the name of the writer. Anyway, Inkuson setting of the poetry that I cannot recall. That particular setting, I mean, all Canadian, all Indigenous, I found that particularly moving as
right,
well. Of course, that's in a sort of like contemporary classical style, so
yeah,
not
sure,
quite as I think accessible for
yeah,
lots of people, but very moving. I mean, it's really, yeah, it was
yeah.
great.
No, it was really good, and it took place in the most magnificent cathedral, like which really
Beautiful
was of
venue.
great benefit to the classical singers.
Of course.
And hats off to the sound engineers who did the work for the
Right?
contemporary singers, because the reverberance of this space was majestic. It really was. But if you're trying to do
Not
amplified
made
sound in
for
there, it's
amplified.
not easy. But they did a
Mhm.
great job. So
Yeah.
it started with that. What because I've been trying to rack my brain, how do we sort of walk through our review of the week, and it's
Mm.
probably just as easy to. I mean, we could go through it chronologically, but I
Well, I
have you got an idea?
tell me what your tell me what your favorite what was your favorite
Oh,
perhaps session
okay.
overall? Did you have a
Oh,
favorite?
did I have a favorite? I found. Oh, gee, that's really. I expected to put you on the spot, Shannon. Now you put me on the spot. Look, as I said, I found the conference as a whole very affirming. There
Mm.
wasn't one session I went to
Mhm.
that I didn't walk away going, "Yep, I'm on the right path here. This is I'm kind of." And I certainly don't want to suggest I know everything, because I don't. I definitely walked away with new information,
Mhm.
but new information that simply added to my knowledge, not corrected my knowledge, if
Yeah.
I can say that. So that was good. I really enjoyed. It was interesting. Kari, who we've had here on the show, Kari Reagan. It was interesting to listen to her plenary about the singing voice specialist. It was interesting, and I wanted to talk to Kari about it afterwards, but she was busy and it just didn't work out. But it was interesting to listen to her take on that particular issue, because for those of us who are watching and may not be aware, there has been great debate and issue around the use of the label singing voice specialist. And I have been on the receiving end of, in particular, speech pathologists who I've never worked in team with, but who had decided that it is their domain and their domain only, despite the fact that in Australia, speech pathologists are not permitted to use the term specialist as a part of their registration. And yet they equally don't, some of them don't want singing teachers to use it either. It's a bit of an odd one. And so I've always been in that discussion, often looking at it through the lens of a speech language pathologist. It was really good to listen to and see it through the lens, finally, the lens that I look at it through, via the singing teacher lens. What did you think of that session? Did you get a chance to listen to that one?
Yeah, I was there for that one. I mean, and let me say, there are similar restrictions in terms of what singing SLPs, speech language pathologists in Canada, are permitted to call themselves, and just because it's the certification process, and it is different than the States. So I would say, for my taste, I would have liked a little bit broader acknowledgement from Kari, or a little bit more acknowledgement of the broader understanding of, farther outside of the US even, it felt a little bit Americentric.
That's fair. That's a fair review, I think. Yeah.
A little bit. And having said that, I very much appreciated her rhetorical goals.
Yes.
So very much, I appreciated what she was trying to say, where she was going. I appreciated that. And also, I would have loved just a little bit more acknowledgement of some of the broader understanding of, certification process and what these various terms mean outside of the US as well.
Yes.
There was some acknowledgement, but I think it was a little bit limited for me.
I thought it was interesting.
But yes.
I thought it was interesting. She obviously tabled yet another way to label it. And which because in I think it's the second edition of the Vocal Athlete, Marcy and Wendy have got. Marcy was at the conference and it was great to see her.
Yes.
Where Leda Skurs Leda does I think a chapter. I hope I'm remembering this correctly. I'm pretty sure it's in Vocal Athlete second edition. And Leda puts forward the use of the which is what I took on board, and I've started to refer to myself as a singing voice specialist, non-clinical.
Yeah.
And I prefer that personally, but this is the difficulty with terminology in our industry, right? Like, there's no governing body that decides, like, for example, in speech pathology in Australia, where the governing body says, no, you cannot use the term specialist, and so they can't. In singing teaching, anyone can put forward, table an idea, and if it gets picked up and run with, then great. If it doesn't, then it dies a quiet little death on you know, in the in the conference notes.
In the
So,
conference notes, exactly.
so it will be interesting to see if Kari's idea
Mm-hmm.
gets traction. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it might be difficult. What do you think?
I think that in a conference like International Congress of Voice Teachers, these are the conferences that the people who are primarily academic teachers and those of us who are sort of adjacent.
Adjacent.
So, right, we're sort of
Yeah.
like, I consider
Allied.
myself sort of adjacent,
Allied.
allied, perhaps. Yeah, in a way.
Yeah, it is sort of.
So I would argue that the vast majority of voice teachers out there don't give a rip.
Yeah.
Like couldn't care less, right? Because
Yeah.
this information, the vast majority of the information does not impact the teachers who I work with. It doesn't impact their teaching
No.
necessarily, unless it's some kind of trickle down, or they're sort of like, oh wait, I heard about this concept.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't impact who they're teaching.
I
It doesn't
think
impact their teaching, so
I 100% agree with you in recognizing that for the everyday singing teacher, it shouldn't even be a blip on their radar. I think it is. I think it is an important thing to nominate who can and can't use the term, in the sense
Sure.
that I do think singing voice specialists should be able to there should be something that sits in behind that
Yes.
term. Whether it be they are a speech pathologist who has done a focused work in voice, or whether they're a singing teacher like myself who has done focused work in rehabilitation of damaged voices. So I think you've got to be able to show reason for using the term, and I think that's where the discussion has worth.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is the like when you're saying, will this have impact? I think it will probably, hopefully, maybe impact the teachers who I think of as specialists, right? So I would think of you as a specialist. I consider myself a specialist, although I have been a generalist. That
sure.
is how I started, and that was the
I think that's how we all start, isn't it? We all start as a generalist.
Many,
I would think
yes,
so.
yes,
Yeah.
many do.
Anyway, yeah.
For sure. So I think that the folks who are teaching as a generalist, which by the way, I feel is a very actually specialist, unique, takes a lot of, you've got a very much highly skilled, actually. This is very highly skilled work. I think for the most part, the folks who are generalists are not, again, I'm not sure that it's going to impact them in any way, but perhaps for those of us who are what you might think of as specialists, yes, I think there may be some impact there. I mean, Kari has a strong voice in the community, so I think, I certainly think that there may be some impact there. And I think those are, the teachers who I also, so let me say this about this. I'm gonna get a tiny little bit spicy.
Ooh,
just a little bit spicy.
A little spice.
Why are we so up in our feelings about it? To me, there is just a little hint of gatekeeping, perhaps a little bit of, I know this thing and you say you do, but I don't think you do, and you are not allowed to call yourself that because and I'm not saying this is Kari, I'm saying I feel like this is part of
Sure.
our industry,
Yeah.
where we sort of, and part of that I think is because it's unregulated,
Yeah.
because
100%.
there's
Yeah.
no certifying body, it's
Yeah.
unregulated, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So I think there is a little bit of, and also because so many of us come into teaching voice without any actual teaching
Yeah.
credentials, right? We have
Yeah.
we're like, okay, well, I
Yeah.
guess I'll just teach singing then because I know how to sing. So,
Yeah.
like we don't have any teaching credentials. We don't do any pedagogical
Yes.
training. So there's, to me, this sort of like, what are we going to call it? What should we call it? How, like we need to make sure everybody's on the same page. That kind of, it often smacks to me of like this sort of like protectionism, and this kind of like, oh, you're not, I need to make sure that you're not doing it right.
I
So I don't
I
love that.
I hear you. I hear you. I equally, my concern lays in the fact that someone who might choose to call themselves a singing voice specialist, it's the nature of that work that I think heightens the concern around the label, in the sense that we are
Sure.
working with vulnerable voices in that moment. And there needs to be, I do think there needs to be a level of knowledge
Sure.
that is a whole other aspect to the toolkit, because of the rehabilitative work that
Right.
could be applied if it was applied by someone that doesn't actually have that knowledge, could cause further damage.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I hear you, but I want to say yes, but as well as dot dot dot.
Yeah. Yeah, again, I understand the rhetorical goals,
Yeah.
like I understand why. And I also am, as I said, I get a little, what are we really mad about here,
Sure.
friends?
Yeah.
You know?
I think it is important that the reason for the discussion is held center, and not that agendas don't become what's facilitating the discussion.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So, okay, so I told you one thing that I enjoyed. Your turn.
I'll tell you what, my favorite session.
And I know it wasn't mine because you weren't there.
I missed many that I would have loved to have been at, but
You're on the I was just talking about my YouTube channel. You're on the channel. You don't need to be there.
Oh, yeah, I know. Although I know a couple of people who were there and really enjoyed it.
Oh, that's
like
nice.
really found it informative. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
well, I know those two people because they're the only two people there.
Oh gosh.
No, there were more than two people. Sorry.
I would assume there were.
I'm being cheeky. You keep going.
The one that I enjoyed the most, the absolute most for me, was Lorna MacDonald's presentation. And like full disclosure, she is a dear friend and colleague, and a person I consider to be a mentor. So there is that. However,
what was that session? Because I don't think I went to that session.
Yeah, it was at 8:30 in the morning. It was like one of the first ones there. And
Which
there were
one?
a lot of really terrific. It's called "What's Bred in the Bone: Traditional Music in the Voice Curriculum."
Oh, that's why I wasn't there.
Because it's so. one of the things that I loved about it
Mm.
is that it was, we were kind of talking about this a little bit earlier. It was unapologetically and very self-aware of being something that we do in an academic setting, and something that I have done, that she has done in an academic setting, and also talking about drawing connections to doing similar things in an independent studio setting. But also, she was very much acknowledging the fact that independent studios do a lot of this already.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I, something I would love to see more of from folks, especially at these kinds of conferences, is the acknowledgement of the lens through which they are presenting.
Yeah.
So very often the lens through which folks are presenting is, I've only ever worked with 18 to 24-year-olds who I work with for 4 to 6 years.
Yeah.
Who the only thing they do is singing, because that's what they're at school for.
Yeah.
They have very similar goals.
Yeah.
And they are at a very matured level in terms of their instrument and in terms of their technique.
Yes.
And then they present through that lens, but they don't know that they're presenting through that lens.
Yeah.
And so they speak about things that are absolutely not either already fully being done by independent voice teachers because we have to, because we're not in an academic situation.
Yes.
Our ability to do the thing that you're talking about means that we still get paid.
Yeah.
So singers come back,
Yes.
you know, because they have a choice.
Yes. Yes.
You know,
yes.
so like either there's no acknowledgement of that, or the thing that you're talking about not actually possible in an independent studio, because I'm working with singers who have like 40 different levels of you know, technique.
Yes.
Or 40 different goals.
Yeah.
Or, you know, or 40 different genres.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so the thing that often I find just really challenging and frustrating when I'm in a presentation within these conferences in particular, often is that they are being presented by people who do not realize the lens through which they're presenting.
Yeah, sure.
And so then it's not acknowledged. And so then, you know, there's this sort of weird expectation, or like, so, you know, independent voice teachers have this sort of weird expectation, like, I think that's supposed to work. That's what they said. That's what the big fancy conference speaker said. It's supposed to happen. I guess I should be doing that.
Yeah.
Or independent voice teachers are like, well, this isn't new.
Yeah.
What? You mean you haven't been doing this?
Yeah.
What are you talking about? So this is one of the things that I loved about this presentation in particular, especially in comparison to some of the other ones that I went to, is that it was presented very specifically around an experience within an academic institution, with acknowledgement of the fact that I'm sure many of you are, if you're teaching an independent studio, you're likely doing a lot of this already.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Sorry, am I cutting you off? I don't want to cut you off.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
You know, I often finish a conference like we have, and having presented on a topic, because this is the 4th time I've presented at an ICVT, and I often leave going, I wonder what I could present on next. And an aspect that I've been really sort of chewing on for many years is the difference between student-focused learning, which we hear a lot about, and student-facing learning.
Interesting.
And for me, I feel there's it's important that we are student-focused, but I find that in our independent teaching studios like yours and mine, we have to be student-facing, in so much as that what we're doing is not about impressing our colleagues. So a good example of this is that you land on, and my website was like this when I first built my website. It was about basically displaying my pedagogical, pedigree. The average student coming in from the burbs don't care whatsoever. They don't know who the names are. They don't know what the degrees are, and the fact it doesn't. None of it matters to them.
100%.
And so it actually took me some time, and I think, and I've observed this in other teachers, it takes us some time to mature to the point where we turn away from trying to impress the industry to actually being truly focused and facing the student. Now, whether I build that into a full talk, I don't know, but I think that's important, and when we go to conferences like ICVT, we can't help but be industry focused because that's kind of the point. But
although I would argue that it is not necessarily my industry.
Yeah, okay.
A lot of what's happening there isn't necessarily what I would say is my industry. So in the way that, I mean, for those of you who don't know, I work primarily with voice teachers. So I do anymore, I do very few, I work very rarely with folks who are not also voice teachers, and I work primarily on pedagogy. So I'm not actually necessarily teaching singing per se anymore. Sure. But I did for a long time. But so the folks who I'm working with, yes, it is the industry. They're voice teachers in the industry. The vast majority of the folks I work with would never come to a conference like that. It's not their industry.
Yeah.
Most of what is being presented is not necessarily something that they either they're already doing it, or it isn't actually relevant.
Do you think because that's the nature of ICVT as being,
I do,
like, it's your middle career teacher? I'm trying to be very, I'm trying to choose language that's very inclusive.
Yeah.
Your middle career teacher is not seeking to go to ICVT. Like, it is, does it, it's not that they wouldn't be welcome, I don't think.
So no. Oh, absolutely. And there were lots of independent voice teachers there who I know from Toronto, right? So there were several sort of folks, again, who I would consider to be generalist voice teachers with this massively broad skill set.
Yeah.
And lots of folks who are at the beginning of their teaching and in the middle of their teaching careers. Some who've been teaching longer than I have were there as well. So I know there was a large voice teacher, a large representation of the independent voice teacher community from Toronto.
Toronto,
obviously
from
Toronto,
and the same happened in Brisbane. Like, but I'm talking where you would, like, Australian voice teachers, every single person that was an Australian that was at the conference are all leaders in the field here in Australia.
Yes. Yeah.
So I know I just called myself a leader in the field by saying that, but no. But the point being, like,
you're a specialist in the field.
So what I'm getting at is ICVT is its own animal.
Yeah, which is fair. Like we were talking about this earlier as well. That's fair. I think that's fair. I think that's possibly what it should be. This is where the folks who come and travel. I mean, when I presented in Brisbane and at conferences previous to that, when I presented, I was presenting either my doctoral work, or I was presenting, on topics that were related to my academic work, and that were specifically for Other academic teachers.
Sure.
In Sweden, I presented on child voice. So that was not related to my academic work, but what it was related to, and the reason that the way that I framed it was this: why and how to teach child voice or something like that, and how to include it in your curricula.
Yeah, sure.
Because the people who are there are not the people who are actually teaching child voice. They're the
Yes.
people who are teaching teachers
Teachers how to
how to
teach
teach.
child voice. Yes.
And they don't know how to teach child
Yeah.
voice. And so who am I speaking to?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to do a presentation on how to teach child voice
No.
at this. What I am going to do is a presentation on how to include it in your pedagogy curricula and why it's important to include it in your pedagogy curricula. Right? Because that's who's at these conferences.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad thing. My issue, as we talked about, is not that that's what it is. It's that we somehow pretend that it isn't.
Sure. Yeah.
Just say that's what this is. That's fine. It's not an international congress of voice teachers. It's an international congress of specialists.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes. Not
voice specialists.
Not to cut across what you're saying, and I share the we talked pre-show about
we pre-gamed this one a little
we
bit.
pre-game. I do want to come back to, just because I've just looked down at the time and went, oh my goodness, we don't have a lot of time left. Can I list off? I want to give some notable mentions to some of the other talks that I went to. So notable mention, Adam Moxness. Did you go to his Universal? Now that I'm saying it, I want to come back and
Design for learning. Yeah.
What? Yeah, universal design for voice teaching. So that was for ADHD, autism. It was great to listen to him, step through a range of things for that. And also Joanne Bozeman and Marita Stryker's talk on POTS, which was really good. We've had Joanne on the show talk about POTS before, but it's a with our awareness of POTS, I think I might reach out to Marita to have her on the show talk about it. I didn't get a chance to ask her whether she'd be cool to do that, but it would be good to have her come on. And then, did you get along to the rough vocal effects one with Mary Oskin?
I did not.
That was great.
No, I did not.
She was great.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, I really enjoyed her presentation. And so that was cool. And then Jordan Palmer, who did the exercises for pop singers.
Oh, right.
How
was that?
She was the real deal. I love it. She could. Sometimes we go to these conferences and you have people who started out as classical but start spending their time teaching more contemporary, and then they get up and they do some of these examples and you go, okay.
Like,
yeah, maybe. No, Jordan she was the real deal. I really enjoyed her capacity to actually do the thing. That was cool.
Love that.
And then I listened to Jay Bernardo from talking about transgender vocal, which I have a particular interest in because I do have a number of transgender singers and have taught a number of transgender singers over the years. And I really enjoyed Jay. What was good about her presentation was, while she didn't talk about her lived experience, she was actually talking out of lived experience.
Yeah, fantastic.
And I remember, I think the first talk I ever went to on this subject was way back at Stockholm in 2017. Yeah. And as fantastic as that presentation was, none of the presenters were talking out of lived experience. They were just practitioners. So it was really good to hear a practitioner in the area who was talking out of lived experience. So that was good. One of the really cool, I've got two more. One of the really cool and I can't believe I've never thought of this before myself, but Kari did a whole session on straw phonation.
Right, yeah.
And she recommended the use of silicone straws. I've never used silicone straw. Duh. Like, duh. Because here in Australia, of course, we don't have any plastic straws anymore.
Yeah.
Which is a good
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
And so
we don't either.
So the go-to here in Australia is aluminium, stainless steel straws.
Yes. Yeah.
But of course, the problem with stainless steel straws is they don't bend, and teeth, and so you're always bending over them. The great thing about the silicone, I know you're thinking, Daniel, you're an idiot. It bends. I know, it's so simple. But I had to fly to Toronto, Canada, to hear someone talk about that. I mean, come on.
That's amazing.
Oh, dear. And then finally, actually, no. Were you in the Val one where she handed out these? The lady that,
no, I wasn't.
Do you know what? The only reason I was in the Val production was because it was immediately before mine. And so I was just wanting to be in the room to kind of be ready to go, right? But the lady that did it, she did a great job. I'm going to hold it right up and close. So it's got can you see it's got a little rubber band? And you can kind of show the shape of the tongue.
Oh, fun.
Isn't that fun?
Oh, that's fun.
I thought that was cool. I'd never seen anyone do that before. No. She had made hundreds of these. And of course, you and I, having been to these things before, you know you're only going to have, like I was up, my session was concurrent to Elizabeth Blades, like,
yeah,
like I knew I was going to have, well, I told my family if I have more than 10 people in my session, I'll be happy. I think I had about 25. Anyway, she had gone to the trouble of making like 100 of these. But I thought that was really cool, just the way you can really see it and see how that works. And then finally, Laurie's talk on creaky voice, I thought was really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. They're all my honourable mentions. Do you have any an honourable mention to finish off?
So I loved. Let me just find it. Maureen Batt and Allison Jane Taylor did. Sorry, where is it? I had it pulled up and then I, moved things and then it didn't happen. They did not that day, but this day. Where is it?
While you're looking for it, I'm going to tell everyone one of the great things about this conference. I had never been to a conference. It has been a long time since I've been to a conference because of COVID and Jodie's health, yada yada. But we're through that chapter now in both instances. The app was awesome.
Yeah,
the app was so cool.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is a good one.
Like for being able to build your own schedule, and that was all. Anyway, did you find it?
So strategies for enlivening the inherent wholeness of your mind and body and voice system, which is a lot of big words, but it was a body-based. If you're feeling this, here are some options in the studio, and here are some ways, here are some movements, and here are some, trust your body, kind of like whole body ways. I loved it. I actually cried a little bit in that one.
Interesting.
Just because, again, I think by the time I got there, I had also been into several presentations where it felt a little bit just people not
a little bit hallowed hall.
Again, not aware of their own lens.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And also, there can be this sort of, I know a lot, and or there's sometimes this enthusiasm of the newly converted, where and I'm like, oh, friend, you've got another 20 years. Or, oh, friend, we've been talking about this in education for 15 to 20 years now. Like this whole concept that you're introducing as like the next best thing and you're so excited about, which I love. And also, you're a teacher. You should understand education. So just being in a few presentations like that where I just felt like there's a lot of like, mm, I'm going to give, and you're going to be grateful. Not through anybody's intention by any chance, by any stretch, but just, that general vibe.
But I
And so
get,
this one
again,
felt,
to pick up what
Mhm.
you've been saying, and I wonder whether some of our presenters, because they are typically in that scenario where they are
Yeah,
the lecturer
yes,
speaking to students, as opposed to, I am your peer, I want to share with you
yes,
my practice.
exactly that. So it felt a little bit, we came into that session and
Mm.
it was so co-created. There was so much, it was very, very much felt sharing. One of the very first things we did was, hand on the heart, hand on the stomach, and just, I am here. Okay, yeah, beautiful. And I just started crying because
Yeah.
that was beautiful. Um, they also, again, full disclosure, they both are wonderful, wonderful friends and
Yes.
colleagues. And it also is just really wonderful to see them do their
Do their
thing
thing.
as
Yeah.
well and do
Yes.
it so successfully.
Yes.
I think there was the other two that for me were standouts, and I didn't go to tons to be
Sure.
honest, but the other two that were real standouts for me were the let me just get back to it. Was that on Thursday? No, it was on Friday. Excuse me while I find my way back to the grid here. Um, were the ones with Megan Durham and William Sourman. Oh, I can't. Let me find it. um, oh gosh, I'm sorry. Again, had them ready, didn't do the thing. Oh, here. Um, one was, nope, that isn't actually
No,
it. So
that's all right. We do have to finish. We've actually got to
yes,
finish up.
what? You can't just wait while I just
You
scroll through. Anyway,
no, you can keep scrolling. I'm just going to tell
oh,
everyone I have closed the poll, and the poll today in the chat was just very much a fun one. But trying new vocal exercises, that's what people would like to go to conferences to do. That's interesting, isn't it?
oh, that is fun.
Yeah, at least a third.
That's
Yeah. Did you
interesting.
find it? Have you found it?
Interesting. Yes.
Good.
So one of them, they did two sessions, and one of them was equity, empathy, and empowerment, adopting trauma-informed pedagogy in the applied studio. So again, this felt to me
Yes.
so much more sharing and just a more co-created experience, if you
Yes.
will, felt so much more on the same plane,
Yes.
which I really enjoyed. And then they also did, I mean, Megan wasn't able to be there, but William did a great job. Great job, William. You do not need my approval. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. William Sauerland is his name. Reimagining feminine sounds, teaching trans feminine singers in the applied studio. And again, that was a little bit around trans
Mm.
voice, but really, again, not just the information, but
Yeah.
the actual presentation of
Yes.
it.
Yes.
So important and
Yeah.
much more
You felt.
transformative.
Yes.
More
Yes.
easily
Yes.
digested. When it feels validating, right? When it feels like kind of like what you were saying, when it feels like, oh yes, this is really
Yeah.
great.
This is
Oh yeah,
good.
there's some things I can add,
Yeah. 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 I love because we all do come to this singing teaching thing from different points,
Yeah.
and so you always pick up another practitioner's way of doing something. You go, yeah, that's a cool. Yeah, maybe I should use silicone straws. But it's, little things like that are actually really beneficial, which is why we continue to front up to these things. Dr. Coates. Thank you for hanging out and chatting.
My pleasure.
We could have. I mean, I gave them my honourable mentions as you did, and I would have been fun to unpack all of those. But my hope is for our community is that one of the reasons why I wanted to have the opportunity to sort of review is to share some of the inspiration that we walk away with, and I did feel, we as particularly as independent teachers, we are kind of locked into our little, me in my case 6x5 walls studio, and it's so good to rub shoulders and in one sense cross-pollinate with world leaders in their fields, and so that was good to do. And do we know when they didn't announce where the next one will be?
Yes,
right.
The word on the street is that they have an idea, but yes, it hasn't been confirmed.
It was unusual that it was noted that they didn't, and I thought,
yes, I think they just haven't had a chance to confirm, but I think they have a pretty good idea.
They haven't locked it down. So I'll all things being equal, I'll be at the next one. Linda is asking in the live chat, and we're gonna close on this. What did I eat over there? I did, yes, Linda. I did have some poutine. I did.
Yeah, good for you. Are you about to say, I don't know what the big deal is?
I don't know what the big deal is.
Where did you have it?
Oh, probably not where I should have had it. For me, it was...
Okay, but do you like fries? Do you like gravy?
Well, for me, it was chips with gravy and some cheese. Like...
That's very special cheese.
I'm going to have to take your word for it, Shannon. I don't want to dish.
It really is.
I don't want to dish
fries and gravy.
I don't want to diss on your dish. I'm just saying, it's probably the same response that people have to Vegemite, so that's okay.
Oh, Vegemite is terrible. What are you talking about?
I literally have to. I've got a student in 3 minutes. We've got to stop. Don't you go anywhere though, because you and I will.
Okay.
Let me do this. I hope everyone that was. Thanks, Shannon. I hope everyone that was helpful for you to be able to get a sense of the energy of the conference, the sense of often there is quite a bit of debate that can go on, at this level of voice teaching, which is, I think, healthy. Not everyone agrees with everyone. In fact, more often than not, people don't agree with everyone, and that's that contest of ideas is important. Next week we are going to do, I went to say a Q&A, but it might be a mini topic. That's on me for not looking. I apologise for that. Regardless, make sure you chime in. We'll see each other next week. We've got a straight run now for about 6 weeks of hanging out, so I'm looking forward to that. I hope you've enjoyed today's live hangout, where I started the whole show by hitting the right button, just the right button too early. I look forward to seeing you again soon. I'll catch you soon. I'm Dr. Dan. Sing well.